And we're live. All right. So, episode 42, and it's just going to be me. Had a guest reschedule, which is cool, happens. It's life stuff. And we have a rotation all the way until, geez, I think November now. I've got guests booked out. So, we'll definitely get him back in the mix. So, that's all good. Drove home to Illinois today, so my background probably looks a little more familiar to some of you guys. For those that don't know, I am splitting time between Pennsylvania and Illinois for work now. So you guys saw me make a post that I was able to go to a Reptile Expo in Virginia, and I met up with the guys from Gecko Labs and Reinhardt Reptiles. That was awesome. Got a bunch of super cool plants. Saw all of their killer lizards. It was really good. So it's quite a bit different. All of those cool plants I was able to get from the guys, I can just keep in my living room on a windowsill in Pennsylvania because it's so humid. The place, as I'm driving to work, looks like you're going through Jurassic Park. It's kind of insane. Whereas a lot of those things here in Illinois, we spray and humidify and, really struggle to keep those things indoors. Outside, we can do a lot. We have a covered porch, and so we can spray stuff and keep the humidity pretty high. But just indoors is a nightmare for a lot of tropical plants unless we put them in enclosures. So it's a pretty big change to be able to keep all that stuff in Pennsylvania and just kind of rock out. I made the post and said we would talk kind of collection updates, enclosures, general lizard type things. If you guys saw on Instagram, I made a post on the Coal Black Exotics page that I just got a new book, a field guide to the reptiles of Queensland. That actually came, I got home today and opened it. Mr. Steve Wilson was awesome enough to send me one and sign it. And that's something where I actually Facebook messaged that to Eric Burke because I know those guys are getting ready to plan an Australia trip. They're going to go in October, I think. But you guys should check that out, man. If you have authors you like, or especially people in natural history and that write guidebooks and different things like that, like you can find those people on social media, and it's fairly easy to get in touch with most of them. And it is, I don't know, I think it's just a better way to do it, to order the book directly. It's pretty cool. Like they usually people will sign it and things like that, and that's nice. But I would just rather give the author directly my money, I guess, is it. And I've been able to order bunches and bunches of books that way. This particular book from Australia, the Ipers, are going to have a new book coming out. I definitely pre-ordered that one already. The more complete carpet pythons coming out, I definitely pre-ordered that as well. So there's a lot of really cool new literature coming out for folks in herpetoculture and just herpetology in general, but definitely in the herpetoculture front. There's a bunch of new books that have been published, or that just kind of, I guess, maybe became more popular. If you guys saw, Justin was super high on the book Tears of Crocodilia, and they interviewed the author of that. That was really cool. So there's a lot of different, I don't know. I just prefer to go about it that way. Like you can find these folks online and just go directly and give them your money and get cool things. And not that it's needed, but the also addition to that is usually you'll get, a sticker or a koozie or some kind of random extra thing because it's actually a person you're giving your money to and not a bookstore or something like that. And I think that's pretty cool, that the personalized portion of that. Steve signed that particular book, and it's not like the Ipers. Like I don't know him personally. I just messaged him online and asked him, and he still signed it to me, and I didn't even ask for that or anything. He just did it, so that's pretty cool. It's nice to get to know those people and start messaging with them and develop conversations. They obviously are interested in the same things you are, and published a book on it. Uh, Dave, my living room looks like that in Illinois, thanks to my wife. Yeah, our front porch, you pretty much can't see our house. And then our dining room has kind of a bay window, and that's full of plants and has a little stand covered in plants. And my wife has hangers for other plants. It's definitely not just my wife, though. All the kids and myself, we're all plant nerds as well. I took, I have a security cactus, is what my kids have taken to calling it. That they repotted that here for me, so that's going to come back to Pennsylvania with me. It's probably, ooh, it's at least 3 feet tall. Probably closer to like 40 inches. It's a pretty huge cactus, so that's going to be fun to try and carry up to my second floor apartment and not stab myself in the chest with it. Um, but yeah, man, we get all kinds of fun plants. I'm a Asiatic lily nerd, and so the front bed in our front garden area by the porch is just full of Asiatic lilies. Of There's probably a dozen different colors out there. Every year we'll wander around, look at Home Depot or go to the garden center or something, and it's like, do I have that color of yellow or red or whatever it may be? And then we'll grab a bulb or something like that and just add it to the mix and see what pops up next year. That's a really cool group of plants because they're cold hardy, so it doesn't bother them. Um, we do the great migration every fall to bring everything in. Yes, we also do that, which is why that area in our bay window, other than the one little plant stand, is open the rest of the year. Because in the cold months, it's full of plants, and which is cool because looking out of our big bay window, you're looking through all the leaves and greenery, which is pretty neat. And then we do have um, like Christmas cactus, sometimes people call them, or Thanksgiving cactus. Those things, those are actually an epiphytic plant from South America. I took those and I put them in a giant biotope I'm building in the basement of the shop. But um, you can get plants like that that are actually montane and grow from different environments, and so you can get flowers year round in environments like ours. Even keeping them inside, keep them a little closer to the windows so they stay cool. Those things do really well when your tropical stuff's just kind of chilling out. Pothos and different stuff like that will still grow, but it definitely slows way down in the wintertime. Um, but yeah, there's a million different options for that. Most of the stuff I got this last time was all the really tiny things, super little ferns and different stuff like that that would uh, be much better suited to an enclosure where you can deal with humidity and really have a lot better control of things, especially on the heat front. So many of the things we put on the floor, and I feel like they just get way too cold in the wintertime. So that's part of the reason that stand is there to elevate things and all the craziness we do just to keep plants alive, even though we're reptile nerds. But it's it's going nuts, man. The current and collection update actually is not lizard related. For those who follow the Cold Like Exotics page, Teresa and the kids are crushing it with all sorts of shows and festivals, and it's end of summer, start of fall, the start of school. Teresa's doing all kinds of uh, different assemblies and family day and return to school night and all that kind of stuff. So they're doing crazy things, and we were able to add a quite large uh, female reticulated python from Joe Challoner, and that was awesome. He was moving out some of his larger retics, and I messaged him and was like, "Well, hey, I don't really breed. This is what I do. Are they cool or are they kind of standard retics?" And he was awesome. We messaged back and forth. He knew what I was trying to do. He understands, the educational aspect that we do, and we exposed the public to things and stuff like that. And we talked about some of the animals that he had available, and he, told me that this would be the one with the temperament, and that he felt that that was the best one to work with. So Teresa made the road trip up to Wisconsin. They met up and did the parking lot drug deal for reptiles that we're all kind of used to if you've been in the hobby for long enough, and brought her back. And just recently did a big public event with her, and she did great. Um, Kind of a standard mid-size retic. She's probably a 15 to 16 feet long, maybe a little closer to 16. Um, and they don't do the Burmese python thing. They're big, strong animals that want to go do stuff, um, which can make it cool for public events and can be kind of annoying depending on what you're doing. Um, it's fun to set up two giant tables, put a berm on it in the shade, and have them be happy to just kind of chill and be warm, and show themselves. But then they don't really do a whole lot because they're berms and they're kind of lazy. The flip to that is a retic will get out and move and show their true size, which is wonderful to educate people on how they undulate and move and so on and so forth. But the flip to that is then you have to follow around a giant snake and steer it. And if she wants to go that way, they're big enough to push you around. So it's just a lot more physical work as opposed to the educational aspect. It's not something people would really think about because you don't usually get out your large constrictors and let them wander a football field or some large, truly large space like that. They can get out and kind of do whatever they want, and then you are a part of the environment now, as opposed to a person who is, in control of their enclosure and things like that. It just changes how you work, which is really cool. It's a very different aspect to owning reptiles. Dave, I've made her several LED racks for everything inside. Oh yeah, very cool. Yes. If you're going to keep frogs, the plants are a huge part of that hobby, especially in the dart frogs. I watch a lot of their videos. I listen to several podcasts in the amphibian realm. They Amphibians are wonderful for display, and especially smaller things like dart frogs. Theoretically, could be mobile for the stuff that we do, and we're fortunate to have a facility so we could set things up and have folks come to us. But um, when you're setting up dart frog enclosures, or even most amphibians, very few are large. The animals themselves are quite small, and so if you're only going to keep a pair of dart frogs and you do an 18-inch cube, that's a lot of space to fill. And so most folks, I would say, in that hobby, choose to use real plants, not fake ones, in an attempt to better regulate humidity and things of that nature. And so, just by necessity, plants become a big deal in that hobby. And if you choose, it would be hard to be in that hobby and not be a plant nerd, simply because, well, do you want plants that are from where they're from? Do you want different colors or patterns? And you need to know how things grow and what's going to fill this wall or this foreground. Or it's a lot more artistic, I suppose. You're actually composing a layout as opposed to like building rock structure and things like that. And then you have to account for the fact that those, like, rocks don't grow. When I build stuff out of zoopoxy, it stays how I made it. Plants do what they want. And then when you water and feed and light and so on and so forth, you affect that. And so you'll have to take it into account. And so there's just a lot more to it. Um, I feel like that's probably why that hobby is such a rabbit hole. And you see folks that when they do that, or they're a lot like reef tank people, in that you usually don't have other stuff. That if you're a dart frog person, it would probably be hard to have a really diverse collection unless it were something like micro geckos, or you're into tree frogs and you build chameleon enclosures, or it would be things that are incredibly similar. Just because if you went from a python rack to your baker's rack of exoterrors for dart frogs, like your attitude, the work, your schedule, everything would be so different. Um, so I think that's probably why you see so much diversity in the hobby, where people are pretty well entrenched in their camps. Diverse collections like ours are actually kind of weird, but for us, that's what makes it fun. So on the lizard front for the collections, um, not a ton of new stuff for us. We are still raising up the crested geckos and morning geckos and things we got from Dr. Julander. Indy has been building enclosures and messing with plant lights and doing some different things for the crested geckos. And other than that, we're kind of treading water with things, letting some stuff grow up like that. Other things are really kind of staples for us in the shows. The tegus, the bearded dragons, the iguana, large monitors, things of that nature. Those are all pretty long-lived animals, and because we don't breed them, we don't like I don't have a necessity to get a female water monitor. I just have a male, and I enjoy him, and he is an ambassador animal and things like that. And so our collection in that area is pretty status quo. Um, the water monitor specifically, of course, is continuing to grow and just be a monster and eat everything he can. But um, most of the tegus and beardies and things like that are pretty standard animals, I guess, for lack of a better term. They're all adults. They're all well set up. They're just kind of doing their thing, and then we use them for our educational demonstrations. The addition of the really large retic was kind of a long time coming. Our previous very large retic passed, and that was a pretty big deal for us. We do still kind of act like, and these animals are our pets, and that was pretty stressful. And so we were raising up the one tiger retic that we have. She's about 10 feet. And then we have a dwarf retic, and I use that to show when I teach about the fact that they come from islands and different things. And they're great. They're perfect for the teaching aspect. But when it comes to the public show portion of it, I suppose, or these large festivals and things that we're doing, it really, kids love giant stuff, right? And so you have to have the big yellow snake and the sulcata and these things. There are more business and entertainment expectations for how your collection should be structured in order to do these presentations successfully. And so we just reached a point where we thought, Joe's a super good dude, well known in the hobby, takes very good care of his animals, so he's a very reliable source to get the animal from. And when I spoke to him, and it's a serious thing, right? It's a very large snake. Reticulated pythons are serious strength, serious bite, serious teeth. You need to be able to trust this person when they say it's a workable animal, and things of that nature. And I trust him, and it turned out great. And so I was super happy with it. But on the lizard front, we're kind of just chilling. Jessica, all the tegus are kind of hanging out. Everybody's growing up. Really, Boo and the black and whites are the only ones that are cool with us. Everybody else is a display animal, which is fine. That's how some species are. We tongue feed, and they get used to certain things, but most of those things like golds and stuff, they don't chill out. I hope, well, seeing how Florida goes, we'll see. I hope to see maybe somebody captive breed those in the future and see if maybe that could help. You never know. It definitely helped with blues and black and whites and reds, obviously, as it became more prevalent in the pet trade. We selected for the ones that fed well and the ones that were chill, and nobody wanted to keep and breed the lunatics, and so they got more chill. I don't know if that would work with golds on down the road, but one can hope, because they're beautiful. Our red is still here in the room, chilling out, man, doing lizard stuff, growing, getting used to people. I don't really want to take those type of animals out into public demonstration until they're adults. I just don't think the stress is worth it. As they're coming up, I'd rather have them get used to us and the kids and the dog and that kind of noise, and then work into the small birthday party and then a school and then a festival, and kind of build up from there, and see how that animal's individual attitude takes it. And tegus are pretty great for it, so I don't expect any problems with the red. I saw Jason Hood posted more blues and albinos. I dearly wanted to get one, but splitting time between two different states, we decided to chill out on that a little bit. But he has some of the best lizards, man. And if people are looking, definitely check him out, because I know he was posting quite a bit there for a while. But on the enclosure front, this week I will have everything finished, black box presented, good to go. That is happening. My other thing I'm checking out currently is the Exoterra Frogs & Co. I think it's Exoterra. Is it Exoterra or Zoomed? Who makes the Frogs & Co.? Let's look that up. I don't want to mess that up because I really like their stuff. Let's Google. Frogs & Co. Not Frogs & Coffee. That's weird that Frogs & Coffee is the first thing that pops up. Exoterra. That's who makes it. Okay, I was right. So I am super Exoterra. Thank you, Jessica. I'm super interested in those. They're drilled. They have a light and different things, and they're really trying to sell the naturalistic bioactive idea. And I, so far, have been able to find all the pieces and parts to assemble that, including the light, on clearance at PetSmart. It was PetSmart in Pennsylvania, not PetSmart in Illinois. So if you're local to me, sorry, maybe check. Hopefully they might still be on sale. I don't know. The only thing I did not buy is the actual enclosure itself. That, of course, was not on sale, just the parts. And they're a little bit expensive. So I'm holding off on that to see how I kind of want to go about it and who I want to put in there. But I'm super interested in making one of those. And then the PetSmart brand Thrive has this new bioactive kit setup thing. And I'm thinking about doing one of those and building it in the same manner as the Exoterra, except it's not drilled, of course. And I don't know if you guys remember, I'll try and post another picture up on the Lizard Brain accounts of the enclosure I currently have. One of my planted enclosures, I got the idea from Justin Smith of having a pipe hidden in the back, and you can use a turkey baster and drain the water out manually. If you're just doing like a single enclosure, it's theoretically something that you would hand spray, probably something smaller. If you're going to run a mister and things full time, I don't know if you'd be able to keep up with the turkey baster method. But I think I want to do a video set showing, how to just go the easy, slightly expensive, but also very nice route of setting up a Frogs & Co. thing and do the mister and the drainage and let folks see what that looks like. And then, because I think so many new folks are going to go the big box way, I think it would be smart to get one of those Thrive setups, get their Thrive bioactive, whatever you call it, and actually set it up and try to show people a workable way to use the available big box stuff. So those are my two current project ideas. And then Jessica, yes, I use a syringe and tubing to drain mine, hid the pipe. Yes, exactly. You absolutely can do it that way. It is obviously more labor intensive. But if you don't have the means to cut glass, or you are worried about that, or, you don't have access to a glass shop, or, whatever the case may be, you're a new person and it's just a pet and you want to set it up, and you saw nerds like us doing cool stuff, and then you found Troy's garage on YouTube with his insane awesome dart frog stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. You're going to go buy a bioactive kit from PetSmart, right? And then you're going to look on the internet and everybody's going to say how dumb you are for buying that. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I maybe you aren't super educated on herpeticulture, but I don't think you had bad intentions. And so I want to try and get one of those, cheaper big box kits and see if I can make it work, and then show people how to make it work. We build big, giant, crazy things and do, zoopoxy, and I'm going to do a dry lock one here pretty soon. And then decking out black box and all these super cool things. And, a lot of folks when they're coming in are kind of doing the budget version of that, or they just don't know. Everybody gets that stupid chameleon kit, and then they go on Facebook groups and get trashed because the chameleon kits are garbage. Well, so let's do what the chameleon people did. They have a step-by-step thing of, okay, you bought the stupid kit, here's how to fix it, here's what you need to upgrade, so on and so forth. I think we should start doing the same thing. And enclosure building and that kind of stuff is something that I'm passionate about, and I think I'm pretty good at. And I usually build giant stuff, but I know that I could scale that down, and maybe try to make some more tutorial type things to help folks, as opposed to, just sticking with the interview videos and that kind of thing. Definitely not going to stop that, but I want to do more in addition to that. And I think, the tutorial aspect of it is something that maybe we're missing a little bit. It seems like a lot of those videos are sponsored by whatever enclosure they're doing, and they set it up, and then it's just a pitch for like all their cool stuff that they bought, or were given, I suppose. And you have to have the little paid advertisement, box on your video. So I think I'm going to try and just buy my own stuff, build my own thing, and show you how you could do it. If you're that person that bought a big box bioactive kit and then realized that maybe that was not the best choice, now you can have somebody who is pretty good at it and experienced in building ridiculous things show you how to, muddle your way through. I think that could be a really good thing. So that is the current and future plans. I'm going to keep bouncing back and forth between Illinois and Pennsylvania for the foreseeable future. I'm going to try and be back here for an ARBC. I don't totally know that that's going to for sure happen yet, because I'm taking a pretty big break this week coming home. So I do have to still work in order to get paid, which sucks, but somebody said that was a rule. So we'll see on the NIRBC front. But for folks who message me and talk to me on Facebook and all these different things, if you are somewhere across the Midwest, headed east, going to a Reptile Expo in Virginia, Pennsylvania, all these different things, hit me up, man. I'm a little bit more traveled now, so I have a chance to be in some of these different places for White Plains and Oaks and all the stuff I hear you guys on the East Coast talk about. Shoot me a message. I'll get in the car and go. I don't mind driving. It's a little Prius. It gets me where I need to be. So I will definitely start to partake of the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic type of stuff. And the West Virginia Herpetological Society I've seen is super active. I was really interested in that. There's, of course, a million reptile people in Pennsylvania, so that'll be really fun. Went to Clyde Peeling's Reptiland last weekend, I believe, is when I went. Hasn't been that long. Dude, that was super cool. Really awesome collection. Got to meet their manager. She was amazing. I was one of the last people there for the day, and so I got to have my own pet a reptile show where I got to see an alligator and a boa, which was kind of funny because I obviously have several of both of those. And I introduced myself and said, hey, I also do this, and I would just like to see how you do it, how you present things and what facts and stories and stuff you give. And, it's cool to see another person do something that you like to do. And she did a super good job. She clearly teaches that class a lot. She's a very well-versed professional. I was super impressed with all their enclosures. They have crazy animals, huge Komodo. That was so fun to watch. Giant tortoises, which I am a nerd for, as everyone probably knows. They had just gotten Fimbriatus. They had really cool day geckos. They had a really nice dart frog enclosure. Lots of venomous, of course, because it's an AZA facility, so they're allowed to have super cool things. Scaloporus, that was pretty cool to see. That's not something you really think about in a zoo capacity. And they had it in an enclosure that had big crevices in the rocks, like literally probably where you would see a Scaloporus if you were walking around in the Southwest. I was pretty impressed with that. Yeah, man, just it was a super cool place. Not really big, pretty small, which I think kind of made it all the more special, maybe. Um, Reptile centric, some birds, some animatronic dinosaurs. A lot of the stuff other AZA facilities are doing. It's a lot of really cool stuff for kids. Monster alligators. They had an albino that was super cool. Yeah, just good people. Everybody I talked to was super nice. They all were clearly like happy. They were motivated. They were, "Oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, this is that." And everybody was really helpful. Um, it wasn't really busy when I went because it was a weekday, and so I actually got to watch them work. I watched the two ladies were moving one of the komodos and kind of leading him around. He got his yard time, and then they were actually shifting him to an enclosure. So I got to actually watch them go through their paces. Just a really cool facility, and super nice people. The folks that were doing the shows were really cool. Yeah, I strongly encourage folks to check it out. Wasn't expensive to get in. Had a pretty neat little gift shop. Just a cool little zoo, chilling out in Pennsylvania. That I had I mean, I knew of it, but I had no idea that I could just. Well, now I can drive there in like an hour and a half. So that was really awesome. But yeah, I'm probably going to cut this one short because I'm an idiot and didn't bring my laptop charger in, and it's blinking at me. But I do want to tell you guys before I go that Wednesday I will be on Reptile Fight Club. So I would encourage you guys to check all of that out. It's going to be fun. We are talking about, I believe we're going to do large constrictors. I love when Justin and Chuck do podcasts, and then I message them all the time on Facebook with like a million different ideas and comments, and we go through these big conversations, and they're so great to talk to. So I'm pretty sure that's the conversation that we're going to continue via podcast. But we have several conversations that are just like kind of simultaneously going. So we'll see which one that ends up being. But I'm super stoked to talk to them. And then if you guys are keeping up with my stories on Instagram, I've been or was sharing Project Herpeticulture, which is a new podcast on the Animals at Home network. That's Roy and Philip. It's awesome. I love those guys. They are, and I don't mean this in a negative way, they are like surfer monk, West Coast philosophy type dudes. And they interview in that way, and they ask questions in that way, and they speak in that way, and it's cool, man. It is so different from I think like from how I talk and how I ask things and have conversations, and it's really cool. And they go on some hardcore tangents and go down the rabbit hole, and they ask really good questions. Like they ask questions, they're very poignant, and it allows the person they're interviewing to just expound and go and tell a story and make their point, and it flows super well, and they're both so knowledgeable and have such awesome collections and experiences to where they can pretty much talk about anything. I'm just super impressed with that podcast, so I encourage you to check it out. And that's probably how I'm going to wrap this one up, pitching somebody else's podcast, but they're really good, so they deserve it. This has been a very short episode, but I wanted to get one in because I hadn't talked to you guys in a while, and I'm back in Illinois, so I got it up on YouTube that I have the normal background. If you guys are going to be somewhere around the Midwest and want to shoot me a message, do whatnot and so forth, I am going to be in Illinois until the 19th, and then I will be traversing Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, so I can find you along the way. I do also end up in one chunk of West Virginia, so I could detour to West Liberty University if I knew a guy there. I'm just saying. Maybe he listens to the podcast, maybe not. We'll see. As always, this is part of the Herpeticulture Network. They continue to do super cool stuff. THP has had some really good interviews lately. Snakes and Stogies is always a blast. The chat and the group associated with that little community is awesome. It's a great group of people. If you guys are finding me through some other route, or finding me from a lizard group or something like that, I strongly encourage you to check out the rest of the folks in THN. Start out in the Snakes and Stogies chat. Look into the crazy catalog of episodes for THP. There's all kinds of stuff. Chondrocast, Corn Stars. The guys have done a multitude of things and have all sorts of experiences. Maybe the laptop died, so now I'm using my phone. And anyone in the live chat, tell me whether or not I am functionally visible to you. Anyway, I actually was trying to end it anyhow. Um, yeah, I strongly encourage you guys to check out Project Herpeticulture and everything on the Herpeticulture Network. We're having a great time. They're doing really good work. Um, thanks, Jessica. Sorry about the blanked out part. Actually looks way better on my phone than my laptop, which is pretty sad. But um, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the guys on the network. Um, I know everybody does the whole network thing or whatever, but go to NPR, check out them as well. They have probably 50 podcasts at this point. Um, but they're all good dudes. It's not a competitive thing. I love that we all cross over and talk to one another and talk each other up and support each other. So it's really cool. And as always, the episode was brought to you by Black Box Cages. The builds that I'm doing will be finished this week. And I will show you guys the 4 different biotopes for Madagascar that we're going to do. So I will wrap this one up. I know it was short, but thanks for hanging out through all the technical difficulties. And I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. And like I said, we have guests booked, I think, all the way through November now. And the weekend of NARBC, I actually just got a very cool guest. He messaged me today to confirm. So we have really, really neat stuff coming up. I'm very excited for it. So see you guys later.